rock house is Kon Cornier from the band King Kaos. King Kaos have really hit the LA music scene with their melodic death metal approach. I am joined by Kon, who is the vocalist from the band. Kon, welcome to the rock house. How are you, mate?
Hey, good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. How's things over there?
Things are fine. We're just staying busy, writing some new songs or whatnot.
Awesome. We'll get to those new songs in a minute, mate. But I'm really, really interested in your early years, mate. How did you get into music?
Well, I grew up in New Jersey, and pretty much from an early age, I started just getting into 80s metal, which is where pretty much when I was growing up. And got into all the great bands, like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Def Leppard, all that White Snake, all those great bands from back then. And I got influenced, and then, I just decided that I wanted to, become a vocalist for some reason. Out of nowhere. I didn't know how to sing. I didn't know how to do anything, but I knew I wanted to do that. So, Axl Rose was a big influence on me from a very early start, and I think a lot of people can tell that. And but I've had a lot of other like favorite vocalists like Ray Gillen from Badlands and Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden or whatnot. So
great names.
I got influenced. Yeah, I got influenced by them pretty much. So I started like just tweaking around, writing songs, and I'm still growing or whatnot. I'm still very young, but then I started like forming little bands here and there, little garage bands, and getting into it. And I think one of my first true bands was called Backbone, which was a band that I formed with a guitar player who has a band now called Dead Risen. He was in Rivera Boma. They're a Christian rock band, and they're internationally known. So I formed a band with him, and we were at that for a while, but I was still very green. So so we just tweaked around and whatnot, and wrote some songs, and I got a lot of great experience out of that. But then I formed a band called Cold Collapse in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you doing covers at this point, or were you doing your own original stuff at this point?
We were doing my own original stuff. I pretty much was always into original music. I rarely did any covers. And in between doing Cold Collapse, I did do a Guns N' Roses cover band for a while. So
nice.
I guess that's my cover experience, I guess. But that was fun, and I did that for a couple of years. But then I formed Cold Collapse in 2010 with a guitar player named Alex, and we've been doing that, and we're still, writing songs for Cold Collapse or whatnot. So, I think we put out a video out there called Reichstag, which was a tribute to the German resistance. We did that, and we did quite a few songs or whatnot, but it didn't really go anywhere because we weren't really promoting it or doing anything with it. So then things were a little dry, and I decided to move to LA. And I decided to move to LA in 2017.
Yeah.
So that's when things, I knew that I had to move to LA to make something happen as far as my career goes. Because in New Jersey, I wasn't really meeting the right people, weren't making the right connections. So I was like, okay, I need to do something. I need to make a move because, LA was the music central, and it still is. So I just needed to get my butt over there to make something happen.
What was the music scene in New Jersey like at this time? Speaking from afar in Australia, I don't see New Jersey as being a city full of rock or metal music. Is that fair to say?
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised. There are some really great musicians that have come out of New Jersey, and there are some some bands and whatnot. But you really have to know someone. Yeah, like you really have to have a connection. And I did know some people that were in bands and even signed bands or whatnot, like Mike Lepon, who's from Symphony X. He's from Jersey, so I knew him. But it was like, but I needed to do my own thing, So it was like a thing that I just knew that I had to move to LA because it was music, musical central, and I needed to make those connections.
Yeah. So in 2017, LA, that would have been a massive cultural shock for you in terms of, living.
Well, I was ready. Yeah. I mean, I visited, I did visit LA before moving there or whatnot, and I have friends there, so I partied there or whatnot. But when I moved to LA, yes, it was a big difference. And, there were so many musical people. You got the Rainbow Bar and Grill, you got the Whiskey, you got the Viper Room. So it's like on any given night, you just go there and you just meet so many musicians and so many cool people that can just, direct you into the right direction where you want to go or what you want to do. So in 2017, I moved there, and then, for a few months, I was just looking around, see what was up. And I met a few musicians, went to a few rehearsals or whatnot, and they, didn't really connect just right. And I was looking for something different than what they were looking for. So it didn't work out. So finally, I answered an ad for a guitar player. And that's my current guitar player named Eric. And so he was, we talked for a while, and he was like, well, do you have any other musicians, lined up? I was like, well, I'm talking to this other drummer named Anton, which is my drummer. And it was like, and if he, if he's willing to come with you, we can meet up for a rehearsal and see what happens, see if, things click. So that's what we did. We set up a rehearsal, and the rest is history. We just that was pretty much the beginning of King Kaos right there.
Yeah, you did mention Anton and Eric, very important members of King Kaos, along with yourself. What about Michael Dyer on bass? How did he fit into all of this?
Oh, well, that's interesting because after like maybe 3 rehearsals with Eric and Anton, who was friends with Mike before we even knew him, he sent them some of the stuff we were recording, because we were already doing some recordings at home, and just exchanging ideas and whatnot. So he was like, listen to this, I have this thing going on. What do you think? He wasn't asking them to be in the band or anything like that. And then Mike listened to it, and he was like, well, it sounds like you guys need a bass player, a good bass player. And then Anton said, yeah, actually, matter of fact, yeah, we do need one. It's like, well, I can help you guys out, and I will be willing to join. So he joined us, and that's when the actual King Kaos, the whole group just came together, after like the 3rd rehearsal.
That's awesome. We're going to advance to 2019 very soon with the release of your first single, but you guys formed. What did you do then? You've mentioned some iconic venues like the Rainbow, the Viper Room, the Whiskey. Did you start playing in venues like this at this point?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we started playing around the LA area, and then yes, we played the Viper Room, we played the Whiskey. We are yet to play the Troubadour. We're trying to see if we can get a date for that, because that's an interesting venue that not too many hard, heavy bands like ourselves have played in. We don't really get an opportunity to play there because it's more low key now. It's more like that softer, they cater to a softer band now. It's not like it used to be in the 80s, but we're definitely interested in playing a show there. But we've opened up for Soulfly in 2001 at the Whiskey.
Yeah. So
that went very well. We actually had the recording of our set in YouTube, so you can go watch it if you're interested. That was opening up for Soulfly at the Whiskey, and we also had a record release party because we just took out an EP this summer called Wasteland.
Yeah, you did. We're going to get to that very soon as well.
Yeah. So we did have a record release party at the Viper Room for that, and that was on July 30th. Yeah, of this year.
I haven't made my way to LA yet, but definitely those 4 venues that you speak about are on my bucket list to go visit. The Rainbow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're playing in LA. 2019 comes and you release the first single, which is a cover of one of my favorite bands. Ton of Bricks come out by the band Metal Church. What was the reason behind covering that? Love the song too.
That was actually that was Anton's idea to do a cover of Ton of Bricks. That's one of his favorite metal bands from the 80s. And yeah, that was his idea. He was like, he brought the idea to me, and he was like, Kon, I think you really do a good job on this, because it's kind of like it's got your kind of voice, like, whatever, it's like he just thought that I would do well on it. And yeah, I think we did a pretty good job on it. It's like,
did pretty good, mate. I think boys from Metal Church looking over their shoulders nervously because that's a great cover as well.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much the first thing. And then we released I Am the One, which was our first single from the band. And we shot a video for that in the desert up in California. And that was cool. That was so yeah, we've been playing the LA scene for a couple of years, but pretty much 3 years now, and it's been going very well. We've gotten some good crowds and very good feedback. And I think right now we're at a point that what we need is management. It's like maybe a promoter or manager to help us get to that next
stage,
that next level. Yeah, because that's pretty much where we're at right now. We just need like probably just a really good manager or promoter that can just believe in what we're doing and get us there.
Well, if there's any half decent managers watching this interview, please get in contact with Kon and the boys, because these are going somewhere. 2020 was still very busy for you. You mentioned I Am the One as your first original single. It was followed by Shadows Fall and Sinister Demise.
Yes. And Sinister Demise, we shot a video for that. The young lady you see in that video is my wife, Layla.
Nice.
And she was more than happy to help us out, because we needed a model, and we were like, well, we don't know who to pick. It's so many in LA. We just didn't know who to pick. And also Anton was like, well, why don't your wife do it? It's like she's just as good as anybody else. She can do it. And then so we just decided to let her have a hack at it, and she did a great job. So
she did. Kon, I hope you negotiated the talent fees on that then.
Yeah.
Around this time, we all know what happened with the world. The world went crazy and was turned upside down. How did you guys keep busy during the COVID lockdowns?
Well, I'll tell you, that was a tough year, because we were doing some shows, and we had some really good shows lined up too at the Whiskey. Actually, we had a couple of shows lined up. We were going to open up for a couple of big bands. And that didn't happen because of COVID, so they were canceled. And but we just wrote songs. We stayed busy writing songs and staying positive. And we also shot the video for Sinister Demise that year on 2020. So we did what we could for that year, since everybody else was just still. It seemed like the world just was still for that year. And it was sad, but
crazy times. Yeah, that's right. And that's the attitude you had to have at that point. What can you do? Well, we'll keep writing songs and stuff.
Exactly.
That worked well for you. The year after, you released The Stranger and Witch.
Oh yeah.
Two classic songs as well. And all 5 of those singles made it onto your debut EP, the King Kaos self-titled EP, which was released later that year. What formats is the EP available on, mate? I'm trying to scratch around for a vinyl copy. Was it released on vinyl?
No, it was not. So far, everything's just online for the most part. And like the new EP Wasteland, that's also online. That's through Spotify or iTunes. So we have not released it on vinyl, but it's online. So it is available online. If you like to hear it, it's there. Definitely.
Perfect. Yeah. And of course, we have spoken about the Wasteland EP, which was released this year. If there's any bigger statement that a band could make, it's that first song on that EP, Black Sails, and that really just sets the atmosphere.
Yeah, we've gotten some pretty good reviews on that EP so far, so that's very positive. And Yeah, Black Sails was something that just came about. I was thinking of something sailing in the Black Seas, or something dark, but had to do with pirates and maybe
Yeah.
uh, zombie sirens, something of that nature. So I just started
Yeah.
writing, and me and Anton, we write the songs together, but for most of the time, and we come up with some pretty good ideas.
Yeah. Like when I
So
started listening to the album, and saw Black Sails, I had visions. I don't know why, visions of Running Wild in my head, the band Running Wild from Germany. But
yeah.
I think you blew their pirate ship out of the water with that first song.
Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a hard-hitting song. It's a perfect song to just start the EP.
Yeah.
And you got some other hard-hitting songs in there, as well. And we also have another cover in there, a Sepultura cover, Nomad, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, we try to fit in a cover somewhere in there, just because we know that the fans like to, hear a classic cover here and there. So
And what
yeah.
have you song to cover the Nomad from Sepultura? Great choice.
Yeah, exactly. That's always been one of my most favorite songs from Sepultura. So I that was my idea to cover that, and the guys were more than happy to do it. So yeah,
Perfect.
we've just been like that worked out pretty well.
The second song off the album, Buried Alive. What was the thinking behind this song when you wrote it?
Buried Alive. Yeah, I've watched too many vampire movies, I think. Because it's like how they vampires are like, they're buried and then they're still alive in the casket and they just come out. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I guess I'm a big horror fan, so I've always believed in that you can actually come back to life after you've been buried and come back and you're like this powerful person or whatnot. So I think the idea came from someone like that, like something like horror movies, it just inspired that. So yeah, it's Buried Alive. It's a lot like I'm just a sinful person and you want to entrap me, bury me, kill me, entrap me, and just put me underground and forget about me, but I'm just going to come back stronger.
Yeah.
So.
Before we move on to the rest of the EP, mate, what's your favorite vampire movie of all time?
Ooh, that would be Salem Slot.
Wow, that's awesome.
Stephen King Salem Slot, the classic Salem Slot. Yeah.
Yeah, mine would have to be Bram Stoker's Dracula. That's a classic.
Oh well. Yeah, I mean that would have been my second choice. I would have been it was a close number one, but number two, yeah, with Gary Oldman. Of course, that's an amazing movie, and that just took Dracula to a whole different level. It's like, of course, that's most people's favorite. I grew up with Salem Slot, so I've always been scared of that movie since I was a little boy. So it just stuck to me as like, oh my god, that's my favorite. It's like, the monster and all that. It's like, say hello to the monster. That was always cool. I've always loved that line.
Fantastic. Finished off the EP, Sin, and then Wasteland. What were those two songs about?
Well, sin. I mean, it's a world full of sinners, and a lot of people try to hide their sins and pretend that they're not sinners, pretend that they're not doing what they're not supposed to be doing. But I'm like, we're just open with it, like you sin, I sin, we all sin. It's all great. It's I mean, religious people might not like that, but we're not religious, so yeah. But yeah, but sin is very melodic. We have a breakdown in there that's very melodic. If you've gotten a chance to hear it, and that's very cool, because we like to experiment and show more of our skill, as far as musicians, because not everything's going to be a hard hitting or hard vocals, but some stuff can be melodic or whatnot. So that's a lot of my background too, like 80s metal, that's very melodic. So we're implementing more of that, and probably in future songs we will be implementing more melodic songs and more melodic vocals. Yeah.
Awesome. So, mate,
and Wasteland, sorry, Wasteland,
Oh.
the title of the EP. You know, in 2020, I think 2020 inspired Wasteland more than anything, because it was like, especially in LA, like after 6 p.m., everything was like a wasteland to me. You know, it's like there was not a soul out there, only the homeless. And it was like, you didn't even see a car moving anywhere. So it was like crazy, because LA is so busy,
Yeah.
you know, and there's traffic everywhere, that for me to actually see everything still, like nothing's going on, or there's no life, you know, it was pretty freaky, you know, it was crazy. It was crazy 2020. So I think that inspired Wasteland. And yeah, it's like a vast, you know, desert state that nothing's going on but just death and destruction. That's really Wasteland. That's that's, to me, that's what Wasteland is all about. Just you know, the end of it all.
It's a good description, actually, because during that lockdown, we saw pictures over here in Australia of Melbourne, which is also a very busy city in Australia, but the streets are empty, and you just go, wow, this is just so eerie, and it feels like, you know, a scene out of The Walking Dead or something like that. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, LA was, you know, like I said, LA is so busy, and for me to see it like that, like literally not a soul on you know, on the street, you know, I mean, I was like, it freaked me out. It really did. So, you know, but it inspired us to write songs like Wasteland, you know. So I guess it, you know, sometimes it's good, you know, in some ways.
Kon, you mentioned at the start of the interview that you and the rest of the band are currently writing. What can we expect coming up from the band?
Well, definitely going to expect just more hard-hitting songs, of course, because that's what we're about. You know, we're a thrash, more black and thrash, melodic type band. So we're going to have more of that, but we're also going to do a lot more melodic, melodic intros and parts of songs that are pretty much going to surprise people, because they're probably like, oh man, I didn't know these guys were capable of, you know, of doing this or doing that. So we're going to probably surprise a lot of people with some stuff, but we're just ready to just keep writing songs. And like I said, currently we're looking for management. So, you know, hopefully we get that going, and we would like to play some festivals like overseas, maybe in Australia. You know, we would love to go to Australia and play a festival, you know. It's just looking for opportunities right now, and to expand the band and get the band known, you know.
Yeah. Well, mate, if you do come to Australia, I'll be sure to look you guys up and come check it out, because from what I've heard with the 2 EPs at the moment, you know, this is pure class when it comes to melodic death metal. Oh,
awesome. Yeah, I mean, you definitely know.
Mate, before we go, it's a question I've been asking artists like yourself just recently. Name your top 5 albums that you've listened to.
Top 5 albums of all time?
All time.
All time. All right. Well, you probably would have already imagined what my first one's going to be, but that's going to be 1987's Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. That's just started everything for me. You know, it wasn't the first album I heard, but it was what pretty much got me into music and got me to wanting to be a vocalist, you know? So yeah, Appetite for Destruction would be number 1. My second most favorite album of all time would have to be Metallica Master of Puppets. That's my second most favorite album. I'm an 80s kid, you know, so.
Yeah, no. You're taking me back to youth, mate. I was a teenager at this time, so to hear those 2 albums come out, I've gone, you can't get a better start.
Exactly. And that just came to light with the whole Stranger Things thing, you know, with the whole Master of Puppets. You know, they did a thing, and now it's like popular again. So yeah. My third most favorite album would be Somewhere in Time, Iron Maiden.
Maiden, classic.
Yeah, because I just think that Bruce Dickinson took it up a notch in that album, vocal wise. It's like, oh my goodness, the vocals on Somewhere in Time are unbelievable. I mean, his operatic style just went over the top. It's amazing. Like, yeah, go ahead.
Sounds just as good.
Yeah, and he still sounds just as good. He still sounds amazing, which is incredible because he's older than most of these guys from the 80s, actually. He's older than them, like maybe 10 years older, and he sounds way better than they ever have, So, yeah, it's unbelievable. Bruce is unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, fourth most favorite album, I say Def Leppard Hysteria. It was so melodic, and even though it's one of the most pop albums ever in hair metal history, but I loved it. Because every song was incredible. Every song was just made you want to, just have fun, So I love that album. I love Def Leppard Hysteria. Great album. I say that my fourth most favorite album would have to be Megadeth, Euthanasia. And that's a little later, that's a few years down the line, I believe it's 92, something like that.
I was going to say 91, 192.
Yeah, somewhere around there, 91, 93, somewhere around there. Yeah. So I still listen to that album like all the time. I love Euthanasia from Megadeth. That they also took it up a notch in that album. It's like even Dave Mustaine, like his vocals were more melodic or whatnot. So he was just so much better. As he was getting older, he just got better.
He still sang with them though, didn't he?
Yeah, incredible, man. I mean, these guys are still doing it. They're amazing. They're a great inspiration to me. And I mean, it's my dream to one day maybe open up a show for someone like Megadeth or Metallica or something like that, because that would be amazing. So my fifth most favorite album. Let's see. There's so many.
Oh, isn't there?
Yeah, it's so many. But I have to say, Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche. Yeah, another classic album.
The voice
concept
of rock
album, that tells the story from beginning to end. And like I said, the vocals on that are amazing. Just a great inspiration. Jeff Tate was just another great singer that inspired me as well. His deep, dark melodic vocal, because his dark voice, his deep, dark voice was like a very, very gothic. If you really listen to it,
particularly the earlier albums as well, even more so on earlier albums.
Yeah, and he was like, he can take it from down here all the way up here in just a split second, and that was amazing to me. How he can do that. So he was a great inspiration to me, vocal wise as well. But yeah, Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime is my fifth album. So those are the five.
that offers us a very interesting insight, mate. So
yeah,
one final question before we go.
Sure.
You've been in the industry for a while now. For anyone trying to enter the industry, what's the best bit of advice you can give them?
Well, right now, I have to say that the industry is at a weird place right now. Actually, it's at a weird place. It's like it's not like it used to be. So you have to work harder. Obviously, you have to work harder. You have to work much harder to present your product, to get people to know who you are and to get your music out there. Even though we have the internet, which is a huge advantage compared to the bands from back in the 80s and the 70s, who had to tour, who had to do live shows endlessly to get known and put out albums. Now with the internet, that's it's a big advantage, but it's not like, it's not like before where the industry were looking for, metal bands to sign here and there. So you have to work harder. You have to find good management, which is what we're trying to find, what we're looking for. So, but I say, don't give up. you know, because sometimes things seem hopeless. You know, it's like it seems like, oh, well, I've been doing shows, I've been doing, you know, demos, and nothing's happening. Well, don't think that way. You know, just keep doing it. Eventually you'll click with the right band, you click with the, you know, with the right people, and people will know who you are.
Yeah.
Just got to keep going. Yeah, don't give up, you know, because eventually, you know, things will happen and you'll get somewhere. You know,
that's really good advice, Con. Con, I really appreciate your time today. That has been a fantastic insight into everything that's great with King Kaos. So looking forward to the new music that will come out roughly what, next year now?
Yeah, I would say that probably if not summer of next year, probably late next year, we'll be coming out with another demo. Well, with another EP, you know. If not, unless, you know, things materialize and we come out with our first full-length album. So that's what we're hoping for, you know.
Well, Con, best of luck with that. Really looking forward to it anyway. So on behalf of the Rock House, best of luck. Managers out there, get on to Con and the boys.
Thank you.
Let's get these boys out there and they can do their stuff.
Yes, we can. Thank you, sir. All right.
Thanks,
you have a
Con.
good one. Thank you.
Look after yourself.